Sweetie.
Welcome into the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. I've got stuff to go over with you today. We can look at several different things. I've seen some stuff. We could talk about some of the matchups this weekend. That's obviously in the mix. I was thinking about some stuff with Florida and how important the matchup is this weekend for them down in Jacksonville. I mean, let's be honest. Florida, even with a win, is not going to win the SEC East. So there's that. Also, we'll look at the CFP race as it sits right about now. And we got some other news. I think LSU is falling. They've already fallen off the map, but they may be falling a little bit further. We'll get into that. But I want to start with money. Everybody loves money, right? Yeah, we all like money. The average there was a website that put out the cost of recruiting and how much each school spends on recruiting. And it's kind of fascinating because when you look at it, I know that money runs everything. But when you look at the teams that are at the top, number one is Georgia. They spend $3.6 million. This is according to a Freedom of Information thing. A Freedom of Information request. Alabama's at number 2 with $2.6 million. Tennessee's at 2.2. Clemson's at 2.2. Arkansas is number 5 with 1.9. Then you go down from there. Texas A&M spends a good bit. LSU, Penn State. You keep rolling on through. Here's the interesting part, though. South Carolina is not spending that much. I mean, $900,000 basically on recruiting, whereas the rest of the SEC, including Kentucky, spends more money than they do. South Carolina is behind. North Carolina, Iowa State, Auburn, and even Kansas. Huh. Now, this isn't an issue of, I think coaches may have a little bit to do with it, but it may just be the administration saying, look, this is how much we're going to spend. I think that money and the amount that you spend is important on the recruiting trail. I was just stunned to see South Carolina behind other schools like North Carolina, Rutgers, Louisville, Kentucky, Utah. I mean, we can go from there. I think deep down, South Carolina wants to be a football school. But according to this, from 2019, they're not spending the money that the quote-unquote football schools are spending. Just saying. That's kind of an interesting thing to start with today. I read an op-ed piece from something up in the upstate. I can't remember where it was at, but it was basically that the athletic budget at Clemson was like 42%. 42% of it went to football, whereas like 27% went to South Carolina. Those numbers are kind of clouded, though, because they're paying more money for their coaching staffs up there. And I get that, but I mean, they're proven they deserve the money that they're getting. But when you really step back and think about it, is money the issue at South Carolina? Because it really shouldn't be. It really wouldn't. It shouldn't be that way. So just something I thought I would throw out there. South Carolina spends less money on recruiting than North Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisville, Utah. I mean, we can go up and down the list here. 803-978-1832. Folks mocking my old school Atlanta Braves baseball hat here. I'm wearing my Braves cap today as the Braves slapped around the Houston Astros last night. I think that series is going 7 games, by the way. I really do. it was nice to see the Braves come out and start off strong with Soler getting the home run there to lead off the game, and then the bullpen doing their job after the starter goes down. I honestly thought if it was a battle of bullpens, I thought the Braves were pretty good, but the reality is that Luke Jackson scares me when he's on the mound, but I tell you what, he did his part last night. He really did. So the Braves basically went 7+ innings with their bullpen, and then go from there. That's pretty impressive. Holding down that Houston lineup that's pretty solid. I mean, Houston won a ton of games this year, and they won in their ballpark. I'm not saying it's an omen, but I think that series is going to go at least 6 games. We'll see. 803-978-1832. Biscuit says it's going to go Braves in 5. I like it. I like it. I've had this Braves hat forever. I have a couple of other ones. I wore my other one yesterday, but I don't know. I like this one. It was up in the old closet there. Grab it and put it on. Normally I would have like my state parks hats because the kids and I are doing the whole state parks thing, and I always buy a state park hat at the gift shop there. I'm one of those old man idiots is the best term to go with. Anyway, if you want to talk about the series, we can get into that. Also, the college football playoff as it stands right now, when you really stop to look at it, I think Georgia's number 1. If we're doing it for the best teams that are out there, I think you have to go with Georgia at 1, Alabama at 2, Ohio State at 3. And then after that, I mean, you could go Alabama. Michigan's got an argument there because they're undefeated. I'm just not buying the whole Cincinnati thing. I'm really, really not. So it's a mess when you really stop to think about it. And I think a lot of this will even out, especially in the Big Ten. Got some big matchups this weekend. Penn State's playing at Ohio State. That's if Penn State gets a win there, that pretty much knocks Ohio State out of it. Michigan and Michigan State both don't have a loss. One of them is going to lose this weekend. Did I say Bama twice? My fault. If I did, I apologize there, Mr. Caden online. But anyway, the way it shakes out now, you've got a lot of teams in the top 10, and things are going to move around. Of course, this is from the AP top 10. But if I had to pick my 4, I would go with Georgia at 1. I would probably go after that. I think, Alabama would have to be in the mix there. Ohio State would be as well. And then I guess you could go Oklahoma. I mean, I think that Oklahoma is kind of a fraud, though, in my opinion. They've won a lot of close games that, to me, they're going to eventually get bit. I really believe that. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to dial. If you want to talk a little bit about the college football playoff, we can get into that. Also, LSU today, Coach Ed Orgeron says the Tigers will not have full practice today, saying they don't have enough healthy players. Quote, we don't have enough players to do the Tiger Bowl scrimmage tomorrow. We don't have enough players healthy enough to have a full practice today, Orgeron said on the conference call today. So, yeah, they're on a bye. They travel to Alabama in week 10. I wonder if guys are just looking around and being like, normally that little hamstring tweak that I have that I could normally practice with, that's a bye week. Who cares? Who cares? I wonder if that's happening with LSU. And I wonder, he's not going to be there in 4 weeks? He said, yeah, I'm going to coach the bowl team if they go to a bowl, and I get that. But do you think that LSU has given up? Seriously. Aaron with a comment online, Pitt must be kicking themselves for losing to Western Michigan. Yeah, I think Pitt's got a great offense, but their defense would get picked apart. I really do. I think that. So I don't know how that's going to work out for Pitt. There are teams, by the way, that we haven't really been talking about that are completely in the mix here. there are certain things that can happen that could really throw some stuff off. If Wake Forest finishes undefeated, don't laugh. That could actually happen. That could happen. Are you going to tell a Wake Forest team, hey, nah, we're not going to let you in the playoff? Just saying. That's something you got to look at too. If Ole Miss wins out, they have a legitimate shot too, especially if Alabama drops the game. They're going to be in the SEC championship. Auburn, in a way, kind of controls their own destiny. So all of that's in the mix. And Texas A&M, by the way, they're playing some pretty good football right now. They could be a hell of a spoiler. They could be. They could knock some folks off and make it interesting down the way here. So I think someone said in the chat room, it'll all sort its way out in November. Yeah, man. November's so cool because teams that thought that they were great, we figure it out really quick. Two teams that are not great right now are South Carolina and Clemson. South Carolina, of course, on the bye week. Lord knows what they're going to do at quarterback or who they're going to run out there at running back. It's a mess right now. Then you've got, on the other hand, Clemson, who they're dealing with injuries and everything else. Their leading rusher, Kobe Pace, isn't going to play this weekend. Who are they going to start at quarterback? And trust me, that Florida State team is coming in. They've played some pretty decent football. They're not beating the world here, but they're playing some pretty decent football. Mr. Trevmont 12 online says Jason Brown and will win out. Yeah, okay. We'll see. Randall says, yes, they'll tell Wake they can't be in the playoffs because the ACC is absolutely horrible. Look, that is the SEC apologist standard, and I get that. But if you're an undefeated Power 5 team, I know that hurts the feelings of all the people down in Birmingham. If you're undefeated and you're in the Power 5, you're probably going to make the playoff. Just the way that it is, especially over a one-loss or two-loss SEC team. That's definitely in the mix. I don't think you're going to tell an undefeated Power 5 team that wins their conference championship, oh, you don't get to go to the playoff because we have to have our SEC barbecue. You can't have that. It's just the way that it is. I don't think that that's good. I just think that the way the college football playoff is, you can't have the SEC 4. I know that sounds silly, but that's just the way that it is. We'll take calls on that at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. A couple of things to get out there. You can give us your top 4 of what you think is going to happen. Let's go out to the phones. And welcome to the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob, this is the Biscuit.
Hey, Biscuit. How are you, brother?
Good. Congrats on last night. That was a great game.
Are you a Braves fan or not?
I think the Braves are going to now go through, and
yeah,
I think they're going to roll them.
I think so. I'm worried about, of course, Charlie Morton fracturing. How do you? That's just a freak injury, breaking your right leg. And then that's just crazy. But anyway, go ahead.
That's done. They have a lot to make up for that. That's why. Well, me saying they're going to win 4-1 is more hope because I don't want it to go long because Morton would probably start 3 games if we went 7.
Right.
Hopefully, we'll only be hurt by 1 game and him not starting.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I like the idea of ending it early because having to fill that one spot there that's going to be an issue there for Atlanta. But we'll see.
It is. I'm hoping they can get up 2-0 before they go back to Atlanta. That would be a great thing. But you're talking about Wake. Right. I don't care if they go undefeated. There is no way they're getting in unless crazy stuff happens.
And trust me, I get where you're coming from. And I think that if Wake played Alabama, Georgia, even Texas A&M, I think they lose by double digits. But I'm just saying there's going to be a section of folks in that college football playoff committee that's going to say, look, they're an undefeated Power 5 team. What do they got to do? And I that's honestly what's going to be there.
You know what the problem's going to be?
What's that?
They're going to compare them to Cincinnati, and they're going to go, Cincinnati has a win at Notre Dame. What does Wake have? There's no way.
Well, and I understand that too, but then it comes down to this. You're going to have that same group's going to be like, do we put Wake in or do we put in Cincinnati? And you're right. But either way, it's going to be one spot that's going to be given to somebody that probably doesn't deserve it.
And by the way, you said, I don't know what you said a moment ago. You said something like, or you're not going to be able to tell Wake that there's not going to be that SEC barbecue or love fest or whatever you just said.
Yeah, I said
not
because
an SEC barbecue or love fest.
No,
that just
listen,
to be
the reality is that if you talk to the average SEC folks, the people that I joke about the lower back tattoos, they're going to say it should be the SEC Final Four. And then after that, we should have our next four. And it's just this mentality that no one plays good football outside of the SEC. And there are some teams that are pretty good. Ohio State can match up with any of them.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
So. Yeah, but I mean, that's silliness. When someone says it should be the top 4 SEC teams, that's silly. But
yeah, I was mocking
SEC teams of the 4.
Right. I was mocking on that front. I'm talking about the people that want 4 SEC teams in the college football playoff. I'm just saying when you have a team like Ohio State that I think legitimately has a chance that they can win the national title, especially the way they're playing right now on the offensive side of the ball, it's just, you're going to have to deal with that.
OSU is one of the teams. Ohio State's one of the teams that has actually the athletes that can actually match up.
Right.
Now, again, they haven't, like their schedule, what they've done the past 3 games has been pretty incredible scoring, 50, 60, whatever. And dominating the way they dominated Indiana, outgaining them like 500 and something yards to 130 is really, really impressive. But they haven't played a really, really strong defense yet, which I do think they'll put 30 something up on everyone, I think.
Right.
I mean,
you've also got in the mix.
They might have a tough time with Georgia putting 30 on them, but I do think they could put 30 on them.
Well, Oregon has an opportunity as well, because if we're going to talk about Ohio State being in the mix, if Oregon wins out, they've got to win over Ohio State. Should we not put the Ducks in there too?
See, that's the tough thing, and I've battled back and forth on that. I've always been when you have 130 teams and there are only 12 data points per team, head-to-head has to mean something. So even though right now I would rank Ohio State probably 2 or 3, and Oregon, this isn't going to make sense, 2 or 3, and then Oregon, whatever, somewhere around 6, 7, somewhere in that range. If it came down to both 12-1 and one goes to the playoffs, to me, beating them at Ohio State is the killer. The fact that they won on the road, that's the death blow. And I would put Oregon in.
Yeah, but that's
have the same record.
That's the gist of my argument, and it sounds like I'm over the top silly here, but I'm just saying there are some teams that are outside of the SEC that play some pretty good football. The one team that I would like to see in the college football playoff, just for the not necessarily the fan side of it, but just I think it would be fun, is Ole Miss. I'd love to see what Lane Kiffin could do in the playoff, but I don't think he'll have the opportunity. But that's just me.
That would be an interesting spot. Do you remember a movie in the 90s called Multiplicity?
I believe so.
Michael Keaton, and he cloned himself because he didn't have enough time to do all the things he needed to do, so he cloned himself a couple of times.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that.
And then the clones cloned themselves, and then they created one that was, much slower mentally, right?
Yeah, they were all a little off.
To me, that is I'm not including Ohio State in this. That is exactly what the Big Ten looks like to me. This summer, it looks like they took Michigan, and they went and cloned it, and it became Iowa, Penn State, Michigan State. And then Michigan State cloned themselves, and it became Illinois and Purdue and Wisconsin. Do all these teams to you look the same? They all can't pass. They all run the football okay. They're all known for their defense relatively, even though I think some of their defenses are a little overrated, including Michigan's.
When I watch those teams play that you talk about, the only thing I think of is they all look slow. Am I off the realm when I say that?
It's weird.
They look slow, like slow to anyone else. I mean, I don't know if maybe it's just my eyes are weird. I don't know, but those teams just seem like they're slow to me. Now, when I watch Ohio State play, I don't see that. I see world-class speed out there because they're definitely getting that. But yeah, you may be right upon that. That's definitely a theory.
Well, because there's an alleyway for one of those teams. I don't think any of those teams is beating Ohio State, but I think there's an avenue in which, like say Michigan, who I think is the best of that group probably,
right?
Maybe only loses to Ohio State and somehow sneaks their way into that 4th spot in the playoff. They are going to get killed by whoever's number 1.
Right. Well, Michigan State, by the way, the over and under for them at the beginning of the season with Las Vegas was 4. 4 wins. That's what everybody thought they were going to do, and they're 7-0.
That's incredible.
But if you watch them, though, they get penalized a lot. They win the turnover battle, which tells me that it's like the plus minus in baseball. Yeah, they're winning games, but the way they're winning them, it's not like Kentucky, the way Kentucky does it. It's just they get penalized a lot and they win the turnover battle. I don't know how they're 7-0. I really don't.
Because a lot of the teams they play magnify their strengths now.
I guess so. But
I don't think Ohio State is a good matchup for any of those teams.
I don't think Ohio State's a good matchup for anyone. And in fact, I think that if Oregon had a chance, they'd be like, man, we don't want to play them again. Oof. With the way their quarterback finally figured it out. Again. But
it still has to be. See, here's the problem I have with that argument. And I can see both sides to it. But the problem is, like I said, with 130 teams and only 12 data points, head-to-head has to mean something. Like you can't just ignore the fact they played each other. And I value September games equal to November. People seem to think that, like, at the end of the season, that game means more. No, it's your resume. It's your entire resume. And if you didn't have the longevity to go through a 12-game schedule and play at your top level for 12 games, that's your fault.
Well, under that logic, the head-to-head means more. Do you go with if Alabama reaches the SEC championship game against Georgia and they win close, and it's like, all right, where do we go from here? Because Alabama's obviously going to get it because they're the champion, and they've also got the head-to-head over Georgia. But in theory, I mean, you see what I'm saying? It's kind of the head-to-head thing can be kind of lax at some point.
Yeah,
you know
Georgia,
what I mean?
You're saying that should Georgia go in or Oregon or Georgia didn't lose to one of those teams. So Georgia had lost a head-to-head to one of those teams. As a matter of fact, they open the season next year with Oregon, interestingly enough. But
is that on the road or is that a neutral site?
You'll hear me saying that Oregon goes.
Is that at home or at a neutral site?
Neutral. I think it's in Atlanta. I think it's actually in Atlanta.
I hope we get away from all that.
So
I think
neutral as you want that to be. But, I mean,
yeah. Trust me, there won't be very many Oregon fans there. I assure you of that. All right, Biscuit. Hey, good stuff, man. I appreciate you calling the program.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Talking to you.
All right, man. There you go. Biscuit joining us on the program. You can join us as well. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. You're listening to The Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio. That music's annoying. I think I did not mention the whole thing with Deshaun Watson yet. I think the Panthers, they don't need to even do any of that. The next weightlifting competition is in February. Kind of nervous about it. Weightlifting competitions are hilarious because, it's just silly. You go in and lift a bunch of crazy weights. Yeah, I haven't gotten into that. I mean, I think that Deshaun Watson is kind of he's kind of damaged goods right now. So yeah, the weightlifting thing, man. I mean, I love doing it, but it's man, it's hard. Just like, and I learned kind of the hard way with it. It's like you have to, nutrition is a big part of it, and getting yourself to a point where you're lifting really, really heavy and making sure you're resting and all that. I mean, it is, there's some silliness with all that, man. It's tough. I just lift heavy stuff, man. I mean, I look chunky as all get out, but I just lift heavy stuff. I won a 600-pound deadlift. I've gotten 543 in competition, but I won a 600-pound deadlift. I think I can get there. I haven't run a 40 in forever. I'd probably do okay, though. I don't really sprint. I'm a power lifter. Welcome back to the rundown. Let's head out to the phones and welcome in. I'm pretty sure he's a friend of the program because I enjoy his YouTube channel, Mr. Pigskin Pete. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? First time caller, long time listener. Is that how it's done? Is that how they say?
I guess so. I don't know. I don't really call into a lot of shows, but yeah, I think that's the way it goes. What's going on, my friend?
Yes, I am a friend of the show. I'm a friend of Carolina Jackpots.
Yeah, well, you're a friend of everyone.
So I normally don't catch the show because I'm normally doing something at this time of day, but I tuned in today on the YouTube channel part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I heard was a discussion about whether or not a Power 5 team that was undefeated would get left out of the playoffs.
Right.
If there's anybody out there that believes that a Power 5 team that's undefeated gets left out of the playoffs, I'm willing to make $1,000 bet with them right now. Any of them, and I don't care if it's 5 or 10 people, any amount of people that want to bet me any amount of money that a Power 5 team would not get left out of the playoffs if they were undefeated. I'm willing to take that bet right now.
Right. And I agree. That was my logic, is that if you're an undefeated Power 5 team, you're going to get into the playoffs. That's just the way that it is. And I don't know if that's the best thing for the playoffs. I mean, do you really want to see Wake Forest squaring off with Alabama? I mean, if you're a real college football fan.
Well, that's not the point, though. I mean, we've seen a bunch of teams get in the playoffs that most likely didn't deserve to be there. Hell, we've only seen one conference championship winning team with one loss that got left out, and that was Ohio State a few years ago.
Right.
So we've never seen an undefeated team get left out. The only way that's going to happen is if there's 5 undefeated Power 5 conference champions, and then one would have to get left out because there's only 4 spots. Other than that, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. When I look at the undefeated Power 5s, though, I mean, Wake Forest is right there, and then I think Oklahoma's a fraud too, but I'd like to have the best teams, but I do think that the committee is going to say, look, they're an undefeated Power 5 team. They have to get in. And I think that upsets the folks from the SEC because they think they should have multiple teams in the playoffs. And in their mind with the committee, that doesn't matter, I don't think.
No, it doesn't matter. I mean, look, and the argument for Cincinnati is a good one. I mean, if you're going to choose between a Wake Forest and a Cincinnati, that's a viable argument. I don't think we're going to see that, though. I mean, I don't even think Wake Forest is going to go undefeated in the first place. I mean, if that would be a minor miracle if they did do that. But I will tell you this. If Wake Forest goes undefeated, they deserve to get in ahead of Cincinnati. I don't care about the wins. There's a big difference, and this is the argument that I have with people all of the time, is that there's a big difference if you're a group of 5 team getting up for 1 or 2 Power 5 games a year and winning them and playing a Power 5 schedule week in, week out.
I agree with you on that. I think that there's also a love affair right now with Cincinnati where some people just think, hey, if they win out, they have to do it because they have those 2 Power 5 wins back to back, winning at Indiana and Notre Dame. And apparently that gives them a free pass.
Well, if somebody wants to send me the Power 5, I mean, the group of 5 team that's gotten into the playoffs in the past 7 years, I'll be willing to listen to it, but it hasn't happened yet. I mean, UCF didn't get in.
Yeah, well, they claim a national title, though.
Yeah, well, so Alabama claims 9 fake ones, too. That doesn't mean anything.
Good point, sir. Hey, man, I appreciate you calling the program. You're always welcome, my friend.
All right, thanks, Rob.
All right, there you go. Pigskin Pete, he agrees with me. Just saying. Biscuit says the ACC is not on the same level right now. Go Bucks. Indiana's terrible. Look, I agree with you, but there are people that are giving them a free pass. Not Indiana, but Cincinnati. They think those 2 wins. Look, the Notre Dame winning at Notre Dame is an impressive win. Okay, I mean we have to respect that, but winning at Indiana is, yay! Let's put them in the Power 5 for that. I watched them play Navy this past weekend, and they didn't look like a championship team to me. Now, see, Randall brings up something. Do you think that Wake Forest would be undefeated if they played in the SEC? It's not the SEC Invitational, man. That's not what it is. And I'm no fan of Wake Forest. I'm just telling you that's the way the College Football Playoff Committee will do it. It's not the best thing in the world. And that's why the idea of 8 teams kind of makes some sense to me, because you can have the ability to work out something like this and still get those other teams into the playoff. 803-978-1832. Appreciate Pigskin Pete calling the program. We'll have more for you when we come back. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. I don't know why nobody's hired Dave Clawson yet, by the way. Biscuit, are you talking about Sagarin rankings? I have to look at the Sagarin rankings. I don't know. Yeah, I can't have you calling twice there, Biscuit, but I do appreciate it. You can call tonight, though, when we pick our games. I thought about not doing a show tonight because the Braves are playing, but we will do a show tonight. Myself and Mr. Carolina Jackpot. He'll be on the program with me tonight. He is like he is a talented dude, man. A talented dude. I mean, I wanted to be on the radio since I was a kid, but I'm like, man, if Jackpot would have like done radio when he was younger, he would be insane right about now. Because I mean, he is that talented of a guy. Now, obviously, he can't be having issues where he falls asleep. No, Biscuit. He's hilarious. I don't think he didn't mean to do that. It's not like he's like, hey, I'm going to get drunk and fall asleep on the live stream. You guys are funny. Well, welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks to our callers today. Talk a little bit about the college football playoff. You know, teams I would like to see in. I want to see Georgia's defense go up against that Ole Miss offense. Wouldn't that be just great? Seriously. And I get frustrated too with the whole adage of, we play in this conference, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality is you don't really get to get the great matchups all the time. And that's across all of the other conferences too. But wouldn't you like to see that Ole Miss offense against that Georgia defense? I don't know how that would work out. I really don't. But it could be interesting. It could be. That would be kind of cool in my mind. I'd also, just from an interesting perspective, I'd like to see Ohio State's offense up against the Georgia defense, or even Alabama, have those two square off against each other. But the idea that you're not going to have, if you have an undefeated Power 5 team and they're not in there, it would hurt me more if it were Oklahoma, because I just think they're a fraud. I'm just being honest. I really think they're a fraud. So we'll see as the season goes along here. It wouldn't surprise me, though, if you look at Oklahoma, the rest of their schedule, and I had it up earlier, they could, if the way that they're playing right now, the rest of their schedule, by the way, they've got Texas Tech, who's floating with nothing right now. They've got Baylor, Iowa State, and Oklahoma State. So they have 4 matchups left. 3 of them are against teams that are ranked in the top 25. I think if they screw up and if they don't come with their head strapped on right when they go to Baylor, they may lose. Just saying. Not that Baylor's like a world beater, but if they show up like they did to Kansas, we'll see. Iowa State was a team that I thought was going to make the college football playoff, and obviously that's not a very good thing that I said. Sad. And then Oklahoma State, they come off the realms of being undefeated. Oklahoma has to play there. Oklahoma, if they play the way they played against Kansas, they could drop 2 of those 4 games. They really could. Go Buck says Baylor will beat them. We'll see. That's the best part about November. Like, November is an interesting time because if you're a team like Georgia, Oklahoma, Alabama, etc., if you know and you think you have a realistic shot, we're going to find out. We're going to find out quickly. Now, on the other end, if you are a team like Clemson, South Carolina, whoever, that your season is pretty much, you're just playing it out. It's not like you have any idea that you're going to make the college football playoff. You're just hoping to get yourself squared away. November is kind of a building time for next season. Let's go out to the phones. Welcome into the program. Good afternoon.
I want to talk about the Tennessee Vols complaining about the ticket prices at Kroger Field.
Well, okay, yeah, with the Kentucky matchup. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, they built that stadium for quality, not quantity. And when you go to Knoxville, that stadium is the equivalent of the orange balls in the ball pit at a McDonald's. Just a big, giant Chuck E. Cheese. You show up there, you got to stand to the side and split a beer. You don't have that at Kroger Field. There's more room. And let me ask you this. When's the last time Waka Flocka Flame led somebody out in Tennessee? You know, you get a concert, you get a football game, you get so much more at Kroger Field. So the Vol fans, just relax. Come on up to Kroger's, spend your little money. You'll have some comfort. This thing was built by artists like Rembrandt, Picasso, Willie Mays.
Respectfully, sir, I've been to games at Kroger Field and in Knoxville. It wasn't really that big of an experience going to Kroger Field. Just saying.
That's what I'm saying. I concur, counselor. Just tell the Vol fans to calm down. Come on up and enjoy the show. We'll be there. Big Barney Ross. I'm out.
All right. Well, thank you for that. But as far as atmosphere, I've been to a game at Kroger Field. It's not exactly. And look, the idea of, and he said that it's like Rembrandt built the like a piece of art. No, I mean, they just knew that if they built a stadium for 80,000 people, they'd have 40,000 empty seats. That's pretty much what it. Oh goodness! Look, I think people seem to forget, and that's because Tennessee's been terrible for so long. Tennessee used to be really good, and going to Knoxville generally meant you're going to get your butt kicked. Oh, back in those days, Tennessee used to be really, really good. Now it's like, okay. It was an electric atmosphere there for the Ole Miss game. I'll give them that. But Josh Heupel's got some work to do, and he can I think he may be able to get them back moving. And I can't say that he's going to be a galactic failure like I thought he was going to be, because he's done some pretty good stuff there. Tennessee could be a spoiler the rest of the season too. They can knock some people around. Why not? So, yeah, but the idea of Kentucky, just slow down, Kentucky. Slow down. Blake says he's been to Kroger Field. It's nice. Opposing fans can give their teams high fives after the win. Yeah, there's that. By the way, I think Kentucky plays at Mississippi State this weekend. I don't think they've won there in like a decade and a half, something like that. That's why Kentucky wants to be respected, because they're 6-1 and they did score 2 touchdowns on Georgia. And that's the moral victory there that the Wildcats have. But the reality is, if you look at their 6 wins, none of those wins are really crazy wins. So there's that. Sean says the Vols will win over the Kitty Cats. We'll see. Blake says Lexington is one of the better SEC road trips. Look, it's not that it's not a bad place to go. I'm just saying it's like generally up until this year, or maybe a couple of years with Coach Stoops there, football was it's behind basketball. They are a basketball school. It's just the way that it is. 803-978-1832, 1832 is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the rundown. Sean says their best win is against Florida, and they played terrible that game. Yeah, I think they had, 210 yards of offense? Kentucky's offense isn't something that you write home about, and you're like, hey, that's what I want people seeing here, and that's our trademark as our offense. No, it's not really that good. They play good defense. They're a very physical team. We'll give them that. I'm wondering, though, how they'll match up with the Pirate this weekend. That's one of the more interesting matchups this weekend because, the Pirate with the offense that he has, will he be able to work on that Kentucky defense a little bit? That should be fun. A fun matchup. And by the way, I kind of want the Pirate to win because maybe we can get some more commentary on Halloween candy. He already put out there that candy corn is garbage, and he's absolutely right. You give candy corn to people in your office that you don't like. Like all the folks that you don't like in your office, you give them candy corn and they'll think, oh, he got me a Halloween gift. No, candy corn is a polite way of telling people to, go away. Out to the phones we go, 803-978-1832. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon. Yo, hello. Hello, welcome to the show. All right, well, call back. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the rundown, right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Of course, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. We'll be happy to take your calls this afternoon. I don't want to do a whole thing on Halloween candy because this is a sports show, but remember, candy corn is trash. Just throw it the hell away. If you give me candy corn, I'm going to think you don't like me. Just saying. I don't even know why they manufacture candy corn anymore. It's terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. As I said, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. We'll be right back. I'm into full-size Snicker bars. Candy corn is for Jackpot's pizza. We should all send Jackpot some candy corn. He'll know we hate him. He'll think we hate him. Soft circus peanuts. That's some next level stuff there, Biscuit. What, candy corn? People eat candy corn. They love that stuff. You guys want to know what my favorite thing is about the holidays? And I know this sounds like really cheesy and it's like Rob's having his fat boy moment, but my daughter makes me a pie for Thanksgiving. She makes me a pecan pie for Thanksgiving. My daughter's 12. She's been doing it for like 3 years now. She figured out, she got with her grandma, learned how to bake. And on Thanksgiving Day, she makes me a fresh pecan pie. So I look forward to Thanksgiving every year because I know my daughter's going to make me a pecan pie. So there's that. That's one of the cool things about that's a funny comment right there, Randall. One of the cool things, man. We have like two traditions at my house for Thanksgiving. One is Paula K makes me a pie. The other one is I go out and I rake up the leaves in our front yard, and the kids they all play in the leaves. And I've got pictures we posted them playing in the leaves. Even my niece is in college now, and she comes home and she'll play in the leaves. It's pretty silly because everybody comes to our house. It's just silly. But, and the other tradition is we play cards that night, and my mother-in-law and I get hammered on cheap wine, like literally stupid hammered, and we play cards. It's pretty silly. Pretty silly. You wake up on the next day and you're like, oh, I'm dying. Absolutely dying. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today. I was thinking about something with this, the matchup between Florida and Georgia this weekend. I wrote something down in some notes that were, as I was watching the Braves game last night. So here's my big thing. Stetson Bennett last season against Florida was, I think he threw for like 78 yards and he got injured. Okay. And I'm not mocking the kid for getting injured. That's not where I'm going here. What I'm saying is that he didn't have the kind of performance that he would want. He had that kind of performance that folks look at and they're like, you know what? That kind of, you get the whole vibe from, man, he can't win the big game, et cetera, et cetera. But think about this for a second. If you're Dan Mullen and you're down at Florida and you are supposedly the quarterback guru there, that's what you're told, right? You're the quarterback guru, and you're going up against Georgia that has Kirby Smart as their head coach, who is a noted defensive mastermind. We'll give you that, okay? But one thing Kirby Smart's not ever going to be accused of is being a guy that develops quarterbacks. Most Georgia fans that are, not mouth breathers, they'll tell you that if they're honest, okay? But if you're Dan Mullen and you have your two quarterbacks down there, both were highly recruited, much more highly recruited than Stetson Bennett. What if Stetson Bennett comes in to this matchup and Georgia controls the game like they've controlled the majority of the season, and Stetson Bennett goes, 12 for 20, let's say 15 for 20, because, he doesn't have to throw the ball that much, but let's say 15 for 20 for 220 yards and 3 touchdowns, and you lose by, 20 points. It's 30-10 is the final. So you got to go home if you are Dan Mullen, who is the noted quarterback guru. You got to go home knowing that you had on paper better quarterbacks than Stetson Bennett, the fourth there, because he wasn't as highly recruited. We know that. A quarterback that your defense humbled last year, threw for 78 yards, wasn't exactly the best thing on the planet there. But I think this year's version of Stetson Bennett looks a lot better than last year's version. But that is something that Dan Mullen has to take home if that happens. Now, I'm not saying it's going to. I'm just saying if it does, that's something that can hinder you for a while. The fan base is going to be down there saying, wait a minute, this guy threw for 78 yards last year. He threw for 210 and 3 touchdowns. Not seeing the other end of it. I'm talking about the short-sighted fans there. Our quarterbacks were so much better, and they couldn't get us within 20 points. What the hell kind of quarterback whisperer are you, sir? That's just out there. I'm just wondering how that goes. Now, some folks think Caden's online saying JT will start. Biscuit says the same thing. I don't know for sure. We'll have to find out. Maybe he'll be good to go. But you know what, though? If there's a piece of me that says, you know what? You have to look at it from this perspective. If Florida is your first quote unquote big game of the year, I mean, I guess JT Daniels started the Clemson game, but under that logic, if you think that none of the other games were as important as the Florida game, that says a little bit about what you think of your schedule, right? Or am I just out there? I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes. But I think that Stetson Bennett and Biscuit says he was taking first team reps at practice, and that's great. And Smart has to deal with that. And then that's something else too to think about. how much rust is going to be on JT Daniels. Just saying. But I also think that Stetson Bennett should be given an opportunity to go out there. Right? I mean, he's led your team to where they are, number 1 in the country. 803-978-1832. But Dan Mullen, if it's Stetson Bennett that carves up that Florida defense to an efficient game, not something where he throws for 300 plus yards, but 15 of 20, 210 yards, 3 touchdowns. Bulldogs win 30-10, something like that. That's something to take back to the fan base, and they're going to be looking around like, what is your problem? 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call. Randall says, I don't think Mullen is at Florida 2 more years. I think next year will be his last year. You know, I think he wants to coach in the NFL. I do. We'll have to see how that works out for him. But either way, here's the thing. The rivalry game this weekend, if he loses it for the 3rd time in his 4 years at Florida, he'll be suffering his 4th SEC loss of the season before the calendar turns into November. So think about that for a second. That hasn't happened to Florida since 2011 when Will Muschamp was there in year 1. Florida, with a loss on Saturday, could have 4 SEC losses before November. There's that. 803-978-1832. Out to the phones we go. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
You need to get off Dan Mullen.
Why do I need to get off Dan Mullen?
You started hopping on Dan Mullen. Don't worry about it. We're gonna take care of Georgia.
Well, I'm just giving you stats, sir. He's in danger of getting his
he ain't
4th.
going nowhere. He's not in danger of losing his job.
Sir. I didn't say losing his job. Calm down now. I know you're a little sensitive about this, but he's in danger of getting his 4th SEC loss this season before the calendar turns to November.
It ain't gonna happen. That's not gonna happen.
Man, y'all are looking at the Birmingham Bowl, sir. That may happen to you if he drops this game. I'm just saying.
He's not gonna drop this game. We're gonna beat Georgia. I'm not even worried about it. Matter of fact, I bet the house on that. We're not worried about Georgia.
Well, we'll have to. I mean, he's lost 3 of his 4 against Georgia if that happens this weekend, right?
It ain't gonna happen this weekend, okay?
Okay.
It's not going to happen.
You can't really tell me why, though. Why should we believe that?
I ain't gotta tell you why. Just watch the game. You'll see why.
Okay. That big Florida Gator logo is going to win it for him, right?
No. They're going to win it on the field.
Okay, we'll see.
We'll see.
Hollywood,
Monday.
I appreciate it. Look, on Monday, I'll moonwalk it back, Hollywood. I don't have a problem with that. I think
there you go.
I think you're going to lose big this weekend, though. I think that's going to happen.
Okay. We'll see.
Okay,
we'll see about that.
All right, man.
We'll see about that.
All right, brother. Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
All
right. Hollywood thinks they're winning this weekend. Okay, then. Only other person I know who's bet who thinks Florida's going to win this weekend is Beggin' Megan. He bet $100 on them. He told us that. Let's go to the phones one more time. Oh, there we go. You can call back 803-978-18. Actually, I'm about out of time. Look at that. The show flies by today. Lawton Swan of Clemson Sports Talk is next.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
He's the czar of Clemson Sports. Be sure to follow him on Twitter at Clemson Sports. Braves play tonight. Yeah, buddy. It's going to be a big matchup. Man, if they win 2 in a row in Houston, oof, we'll see. Randall says he'll be sleeping under the bridge talking about Hollywood. Okay. On paper, this looks like Georgia's going to go to a win. We'll see, though. Never know how it happens until it gets out there. All right, so tomorrow on the program, we're going to do our coach's hot seat stuff tomorrow. We've also got the latest from Clemson's camp. Who's got COVID again? Kobe Pace has it. I wonder if that's spread throughout the team. You never know. We'll keep you up to date with all of that tomorrow here on The Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, they are playing the Astros. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget tonight we've got Jackpot and I pick our games against the spread. So yeah, I'm probably going to be drunk, just so you know, because we'll be watching the Braves. Have a couple of drinks when I watch the Braves. All right, you guys are awesome. We'll see you later. All right.